Episode 6. It was a long drive home from the office, over an hour now, that she had moved further away. The commute meant dealing with peak hour traffic. The only thing in her favor right this minute was that she was on the other side of the country from him, her alpha. So it would give her time to pack and get away, at least 10 to 12 hours. He'd have to book his men on a flight and organize transport. J-Law would be long gone by then. This was it, no going back now. She would have to completely sever ties with the pack this time, but she would wait to do it until they were at the airport. Too many scents for him to track at an airport, and once she went rogue, he would no longer be able to track that particular scent that belonged to his pack, a scent that, even now, he could use to track her. It's going to hurt us. I know, but what else can we do? The worst of the worst, Cora. That means the men coming. Whoever he sends can do whatever they want to us with no repercussions. She felt Cora shudder with disgust herself. I'll kill anyone that thinks they can touch us, J-Law. I know we'll try, but... They both knew they would be outnumbered most likely, and though she had trained all her life and still did once a week, the men that would be coming would likely be twice her size and train every day. They would have a sick, sadistic side where pain was what they enjoyed inflicting. Her fighting back would only incite them even more. J-Law parked her car outside the front of the building instead of in the secure car park. She was only going to be home long enough to pack each of them a suitcase and grab their passports, an hour tops, hopefully even less than that. She got out of the car, lost in her thoughts of getting away and where to go. Once she was a rogue, there was no turning back, so choosing a place that had no wolves was probably a good idea, so a country that had no natural wolf population would be best. Other shifters wouldn't bother her as long as she was of no threat to them. Somewhere out of the way, somewhere small, somewhere with a nice forest for Cora and her children when they grew up and could shift and run freely, she could use her degree to get a job. Contract law was always in demand if she couldn't pick up divorce law, and seeing as she spoke 3 languages, any of those countries would be good. So, even if not law, she could go for a translator job with any corporation. That would be an advantage. The cloth that covered her mouth as suddenly as the fierce grip around her waist as she was yanked backwards against a hard body startled her. So in her thoughts was she that she hadn't seen, heard, or smelled anything out of the ordinary. The sharp intake of her breath when she'd been startled meant the chloroform had been inhaled deeply, making her fuzzy around the edges of her vision. Cora snarled instantly in her mind, and as her claws were ripping from J-Law's fingertips ready to fight, there was a sharp sting to the left side of her neck and burning like fire started flooding through her into her veins. No, she tried to scream, but already the darkness was rushing at her, enveloping her. Her worst fear now coming true, her last thought before the darkness claimed her completely, my babies, I'm sorry. Her eyes were still heavy, she was so tired, and trying to open her eyes felt like the hardest thing in the world to do. It took several minutes before she could hold them open and focus on her surroundings. She appeared to be lying down on her right side, barely able to move. She could feel her arms bound behind her. Cora. She tried reaching for her wolf, got nothing, couldn't feel her at all, couldn't even sense her the tiniest bit. Drugged with wolfsbane, no access to her wolf, and the burning sensation coming from her wrists meant silver cuffs. She was now as helpless as a human. There was no help for her at this point in time. She took a deep breath, tried to take in the situation. She was lying on what appeared to be the floor of a moving van. She was still wearing her clothes, and there was no pain between her legs to say she had been assaulted while unconscious. Thank the goddess for that, not that she wanted to be awake for it. But how long she had been out, a few hours, the night, 24 hours or more, she had no idea. The triplets had been with their nanny. How long would she wait to call the police and report her missing? Would she stay with the children the whole time or leave them? To many what-ifs. Don't think about it. Suzy is a great nanny. We pay her well, treat her with respect, and she loves the triplets. She'll stay with them. Jayla told herself to try and keep herself calm. She had to remain calm. It was a must to survive and find an opportunity to get away. It was the middle of the week. If she didn't come home and then didn't show up for work, someone would call the police and report her missing. The human police might not have much influence in the wolfen society, but wolves still had to placate them occasionally. A foot touched her chest and pushed her onto her back. You're awake, I see," a gravelly male voice said to her, amusement lacing every word. "What did you do, I wonder?" He chuckled at her. Jayla stared up at him. It was dark inside the van, but she had no idea if it was dark outside or if the van was designed this way so no one could see in. She was only wearing a skirt and blouse, nothing that this wolf would have trouble removing to have his way with her. Her only defense now was her brains and her stilettos. "Please," she whispered, "I have children." She was hoping to appeal to his family nature. Wolves were naturally paternal creatures. Their mates and offspring meant everything to them. They would die without a thought to protect them. "3 children. Please let me go." He frowned down at her for a full minute, then shrugged. "Sorry. Paid already." His voice sounded devoid of emotion all of a sudden, as though he had to cut himself off from his emotions to ignore her pleas. "They're just 5 and no dad," she pleaded with him. Again. He frowned, and his eyes were just staring down at her. He was troubled and she knew it. It was working, then he shrugged. "Not my problem, lady." Though he had appeared to be concerned, maybe he just wasn't, or the money was too good to pass up. Jayla struggled to a sitting position. He just watched her wearily. She appeared of no real threat. Still no wolf, and for how long she had no idea. Bound with silver handcuffs meant till they took them off probably. So until she reached her destination in all likelihood. She may look helpless and have no wolf, but her father was a high-ranking warrior and he had trained her since she was 5 years old, always worried that his precious princess would come to harm, and he had wanted to make sure she could defend herself, trained her every day without wolf, till Cora had come out at 16. So if this man wanted a fight, she was going to give him one.
Full story is available at novelpalace.com. Click the link in the comment section to get it free.